Recording is on.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Friday Fundamentals for SoftPlan version 2026. My name is Brent. I will be taking you through some of the new features in 2026 that we feel are big items for us, things that we want you to know about, things that we want to introduce you to, so that after today's session, you can go out and you can try them yourself and build upon what you've learned today. Just a little bit of housekeeping. I won't be monitoring questions on the chat today. We've got quite a few things to get through today. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out to our technical support department after the session today anytime. This session will also be posted. It's being recorded and will be posted in the coming days, likely, to our YouTube channel. So if you have any questions, just try and hold off on them and follow up with us after the session, if you don't mind. All right, I'm just going to recap basically what we're going to get through today. Hopefully, if I can get through all of it. There's lots of content to cover. We're going to be looking at dominant or locked options within the roof. That's why we're zoomed in on the roof right now. We're going to be taking a look at our new door layout tool for parametric openings, which is a really big item. Our ability to clip stairs to walls, elevations, being able to dash lines below grade on a saved elevation. We're going to be taking a look at multiple active building options, and lastly, some of the new trim options that we put in, which the biggest thing being reveal. So we've adjusted the way that we draw and show our trim relative to openings in 3D as well as in plan. Those are the big items. If there's a few other items I may throw in along the way, if it's convenient, or we will follow up at the end of if we still have time at the end. All right. I do encourage you to sign up for the Friday Fundamentals on April 25th as well. It will not be a repeat of what we're covering today. It's going to be a second session of new version features. So you may want to sign up for that while there's still spots available, where you'll get into some more items like symbol rotation, Google Maps satellite image in 3D, roof profiles, and that's a big one. The ability to combine walls, some lumber pricing table stuff, and the import of SketchUp items. So you may want to just after today's session sign yourself up for the 1 and 2 weeks if you're available, because it'll be a great session. It'll be led by Steve Venz for that one, so lots of good content there as well. So without further ado, let's get started with what we're going to take a look at here today. I apologize if everything looks a little bit small on your screen. That's just the nature of the software that we use for this. And I am showing you my entire screen because I'm going to have a split screen for the most part, showing you the 3D side and the plan side interactively. The first item, as I said, was we're going to take a look at the ability to lock roof options within SoftPlan. So to do that, I'm just going to flip this view back over to a shaded view, just to make it a little easier for you to read. All right, I'm going to go into my mode options and my lighting and turn off my path tracing. So it looks a little more cartoonish, maybe not as nice, but we don't need path tracing for what we're looking at here. So you can see that with the newer features that we've added in 2024 and 2026, you can get your 3Ds to look much better than I have on the screen at the current moment. But the purpose here is to show some of the options within the roof components rather than the prettiness of my 3D capabilities. All right, so back on the plan, I'm going to flip in. We are in roof mode, and if we go to draw and we go into roof options, you're going to notice a few changes to the items: pitch, overhang, heel height, seat cut, and boot cut, as well as your top to fascia, which is down under the subfascia area, down in here, okay? There's a little lock icon to the right-hand side of the calculator. What this will allow us to do, and we can do it in here, so it'll affect new items drawn on the drawing, or we can do it on an edit of the roof. What this is going to do is allow us to lock certain options on a particular roof, so that if we don't want to impact that option by changing other items such as pitch or overhang, those items will remain intact, okay? In the past, what you'd have to do is do the calculations and figure out what that number should be and then retype it back in. But with this option, if I was to change the pitch on this roof, for instance, so let's just do a quick edit on it. I'm going to edit the entire roof. And when we take a look at that, right now I'm sitting with a 4.5-inch heel height, okay? So it gives me a perfect bird's mouth cut. My top to fascia is currently sitting at just short of 8.5 inches, okay? But if I was to change the pitch on this roof, my current settings, the way we typically draw the roof, is it's going to lever off of the top of the fascia, basically out in the end of that rafter. So that's going to increase my heel height. It's going to float my rafter above my wall. By locking in the heel height, it's going to have to affect something else, and it's going to tip at that point, at the heel height being the distance drawn directly from the top of the outer plate, or the outer corner of the top plate, directly vertical through the top of the rafter. Okay, that's your heel height. So it's going to be levering off of the top of that point, which means I'm going to likely increase my top to fascia number, okay? So if I'm in my roof options here, and I go to my heel height and I lock that in, and then I increase my pitch on this roof to say, let's try an 8-inch pitch. You can see that it picked that up. I unlocked it. Change that back to 6 inches. Lock that up. And there we go. Okay, so now if we go back over to our fascia and soffit, you can see that we have closer to an 11-inch top to fascia number. Okay, now if I was to do that on an individual edge, obviously that's going to misalign the corners with some of the other edges on the roof. This comes into play mostly when you're trying to turn a corner where you have different pitches on the roof and you want to align the fascias. So at that point, you might go back in and you might lock the top to fascia number, okay, so that it stays put at that point. And when that's locked in, if you go back to the roof tab and you were to modify your heel height or change your pitch, that number will stay put, meaning that the fascia line will continue around. With a heel height that's locked and a top to fascia number that's locked, if I was to change my pitch again, you'll probably see that I'm going to, if I change that up to, let's say, 10 inches, it's going to reduce my overhang so that I can actually maintain that fascia line and keep my rafters sitting on top of the wall where they were. All right. So this just to give you an idea of how that works. Let's unlock that again and edit an edge on here. And if I drop that down to 6 inches and then if I was to come in and change my heel height back up to 4.5 inches, obviously it's going to skew it off of that corner. All right. All right. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of how this how this is going to work around your entire roof. I'm just going to back that out where we were when we started. All right. So I've got my top to fascia locked. No, it's unlocked. And I'm just going to edit this one off. Say 8 inches. And you can see how that has now pushed it off of the corner. So if that's what you're looking for, just zoom that up for you. By holding one of those features, it's no longer going to keep the hip coming down on the corner. So all I was trying to illustrate for you. But if we do want to lock that in, then we need to lock in the top to fascia and the heel height, so that those will lock in, and then that will adjust the overhang for you. Okay. So just an illustration as to how that's going to work. All right, second item we want to take a look at is the door layout tool. So I'm going to just zoom us back out a little bit to some open space here. I'm going to flip this back over to drawing mode. In drawing mode, for those of you who have worked with elevation openings in the past, this is just an added tool to that makes it much more robust. So we're going to go to draw, detail, opening shapes, and in there you're going to see door layout. Okay, so you used to be able to draw your doors and they were a two-dimensional elevation opening. With the door layout tool, sketch a door of any size on the screen. It's just there for the mechanism to get you into the door layout tool. So once you've drawn it, edit it, and that's going to pull up this dialog on the screen for you. Okay, so I'm just going to step you through some of the key points in here. The width and the height of this door, it's whatever I sketched it at. So I'm going to change that to 3 feet by 6'8". All right. So that's going to size my door, and you can see the preview over here. It's not going to modify the one that's on screen, so I'll just cover over that so you don't get distracted by it. All right. Taking a look at the edit door properties, it's going to give us the size. It's going to tell us the shape. It's flat, meaning the top doesn't have any kind of camber to it, that kind of thing. We have a frame in the top left and the right. So this is all pretty standard stuff for an elevation opening, but we have also added the ability to define a hinge side right from this point, so you don't have to do it later. Okay, so it's set to left. All right, so those are your door properties. What we also have is the perimeter rails and stiles. So anything that runs around the outside. So in the default view, we give you a glazed area, and then we give you the rails and stiles that surround that glazed area. All right, so we have got the top, left, and right set to 6 inches, and then the bottom rail set to 9 inches. All right, so we're going to stick with those numbers. Those are fine. But what we're going to do is create somewhat of a craftsman look to this. We're going to move the light up closer to the top, and we're going to put 2 panels in the bottom. So just to get to what the real purpose of the door layout tool is, you may hear the term parametrics thrown out there. The fact that we can do this in this tool and make a parametric opening means that I can take this particular opening, whether it's 3 feet or 10 feet wide, and have certain items scale up while certain items on there, such as the rails and stiles, will maintain their original size and not stretch with the size change. Okay. Currently, if I was to put a 3-foot door in a wall and then make it 5 feet wide, it's going to stretch that thing all the way across equally, all the way across. So the stiles and the rails will all going to get bigger as we go across. with the parametric openings, we can control which items will scale and which ones will remain fixed. All right. For those of you who are familiar with wall definitions, same thing as making your plates fixed versus your studs adjustable. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and I'm going to change this height to 18 inches. And I'm going to give it a fixed height. Okay, so by making it fixed, it goes up. If I don't click the fixed option, doesn't matter what this number is, as long as it's got the space to fill in between the bottom and the top rail, it's going to stretch to that size. Okay, so I'm going to make that fixed. All right, and from there, I'm going to come in and add in a 6-inch horizontal rail. So down here, you can go to add part or add row. Okay, so we're going to add a row in this case because we want to just put a rail going across beneath the window. So I'm going to come in here, and at that point, it's either style or rail. They're both the same thing. It's either a vertical or horizontal member that's going to go across or up and down on the door. Okay, I'm going to set it to 6 inches, and I'm going to set it to fixed as well. I don't want the rails and stiles to expand, so I'm going to put that in just as it is. Okay. And next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to add row again. So down below. Okay. And in this case, it put it in as a door glazing, but I'm going to change that to a panel. Okay. And its height is going to be flexible. So that's where if we were to change this door from a 6'8" door to an 8-foot door, it's going to expand for me. The window doesn't, and the rails and stiles don't either. So this has to have some sort of movement in it. Okay. But I'm going to change its, I'm going to add in another part, or not another row, sorry. I'm going to add in a part. And in here, we're going to change this one to a style. Sorry, the second one down. And in this case, yes, we are going to make it 6 inches. It's already set to that, and I'm going to make it fixed. Okay. And then we're going to add another part again. So what you can notice is that when we got to the add row, it's going across the door, across this way. And then we can add parts that will fill in across that stretch across there. Okay, so I have my panel, it's expandable. My style is not expandable. My door panel, I'm going to change this over to a panel as well. And it will just fill in that extra space there. Okay, so these are equally sized based on the fact we have a 6-inch left and right and middle stiles going up and down there. All right. So you can see that we have all the pieces that we need in here now. I can go up to my door glazing and I can pick edit part, which will pull up a secondary dialog, which allows us to then go in and you can you can add grills, do whatever you need to at that point. That kind of thing. All right. Additionally, in these areas, so I'll just click where I had added a panel. This is where we could put in a sliding window, a glazed area, the door glazing, which we already had, round tops, panels and stiles and rails we've used already. We put in quarter rounds, ellipticals, and we can also add in 3D symbols. Now the 3D symbol is going to stretch within that space, but what we can do differently with this is it doesn't stretch across the entire width. So if we were to put in something that was a 3D symbol, like a raised panel, then we can actually have it stretch properly down the middle and across the sides. All right. So additionally, if I was to edit that part, that is where you can come in here, and we actually, within the actual panels, we actually have a raised and a beveled panel already defined in there, which will scale appropriately within this space. So good to know those are there. But if you do have a custom door that you need to put something special into, the 3D symbol option is available to you there if you were to create something. All right. not something we'll be doing today. All right, so once you've done all of this, what you are creating here is an elevation opening. Difference being this is a parametric elevation opening that can be used on any different size. So at that point, you just go to your create elevation opening, and you can put this where you like. I'll put this in door. I'll just put it right in door so we can find it. I'll call it. Okay, and with all that, you're done. If you were to edit that, if you can always come back to it. If you needed to come back to this later and you didn't have this drawn on the drawing, obviously, you can draw the elevation opening, explode it, and then you can get back into the tool and modify it further if you needed to. All right. From there, it's just simply a matter of going into your file, options, system library. I'll drag this down over here. We already have the elevation opening created. We can go into openings, exterior door, and that's where you can come in here. A lot of C's in here. There it is. There's our door, and we can use that as our elevation opening. Okay. And then you can configure if you need to do anything more to it, but we are good. And at that point, if I was to, let's say, slide around the back here. Actually, I already have one drawn there, but this is where you can come in and you should be able to find your door right there. This is a door that we just created. It looks just like the one that's there, but gives you the idea. All right. If you wanted to draw the door in, you can go to draw opening, exterior door. There it is. Okay, and drop it in. All right. My offsets are off. I probably had it set up as a window when I put it in. All right. I didn't spend a lot of time on the actual definition of the opening itself, but we did take a look at the parametric door options within the door layout tool, and hope that makes sense to you. The biggest thing here is things like garage doors. We can put in the rails across. You can simply do one garage door that has either 2, 3, or 4 lights in it. And you don't have to make one that's closer to a 9-foot door and one that's closer to a 16-foot door, because they're going to stretch. This is a good example of one that we have actually defined using the new tool. And you can see this was just defined as a 4-light wide glass door, but it could be 16 feet wide or it could be 9 feet wide. And the glazed areas will stretch, and the rails and stiles in between will remain their current width. All right, so it's a good example. We will filter some of this through some of the other libraries. Currently, there are some modern doors added and that sort of thing using this tool, and the glazed garage doors have been done that way. All right. Moving indoors for a quick second. I'm just going to take you to a 3D view. Take you back out here. And over here, take you to the main floor. And there we go. So there's a new tool called clip stair to wall. All right. I'm going to flip this into shaded mode. There we go. I just wanted to be nice and clear for you so you can see what we're doing here. All right. With the clip stair to wall option, this will address the instance where you have a stair that goes up at say 42, 45 inches wide and it intersects into the end of a wall that's been cut back or pushed back, and then you need to reduce the width of the stair. In previous versions, you would have to draw that as two stair components and connect them together into one stair. We are just basically doing the same thing for you, but we're automating it for you. So to use this tool, what we want to do is remain at that width going up to where that wall is, and then have it reduce its width at that point. The one thing to remember here is you're clicking on the wall, not on the actual stair. So you go over to your floor plan, and on the actual partition itself, okay, pull up the menu with the right click and use the clip stair to wall command, which will, in essence, just reduce the width of that. So if you were to look over here now, it's kind of hidden underneath the text, but this top stair or the bottom stair ends here. The top stair connects at that point, and it's a reduced width, so it's going to fit between the walls and continue up from there. All right. So at that point, additionally, when you're in here, you can edit this and you can put in your rails, at which point it will draw in the railing only going up to that wall, and it will stop at that point. Okay. At that point, there is the railing continuing, but it's going on the inside of the wall. All right. All right. I'm going to take a quick look at the generation of a front elevation on this same plan. So we're just going to work within this particular sample drawing so that we can not have to move around too much. And I'm going to go to my front elevation. There we are. There's a final elevation. Oh, there's my model. There's the one I want. I've got a couple saved there so we can pull up afterwards. So this is just building the front elevation model for us. There it is. All right. So there we go. Under File, Options, Project Options, and you can go to your elevation generation. Okay, this is just the settings for when we are generating an elevation. What do you show on an annotated view? This is where your top of footings, top of plate, top of foundation, and so on as well. But we have added a checkbox here called Show Dashed Lines Below Grade. Something that people have been requesting for quite a while. We now have the ability to do it. Now, just to give you an outline as to how we determine where the lines change, we are going to determine this from having a site plan in your stack, in your model stack. Okay, so I'm just going to close that out. We have the setting we want. So if I look at my model stack, I have a site plan included in the model stack. So if there's one there, that's what we're going to use. So if that is 8 inches down from the top of the foundation, that's where it's going to transition from a solid line to a dash line. If we don't find one, don't fret. If putting the site plan in isn't either it's not ready or it's not something you do, we're going to use the offset that is already defined with your auto horizon in 3D. So when you go into 3D, we have the auto horizon that appears, and in your options, you can set where that is located relative to the underside of the sill plate or the top of your foundation. So if that's 6 inches down, that's the number we're going to use. Okay, so when you have this pulled up on the screen, so if I'm over here, and I go to File, and I want to go to Save As. You can choose your options if you want the auto paint on there or not. Pick OK. So just to clarify, this will work when you save out an elevation. So this has to be saved out as a drawing. We don't have an ability to show you the dash lines on an annotated view because those lines are not actual they're the edges of surfaces. It's just a different different scenario there. All right, so what I need to do next is I can come over here and I can find the one that I've created and pull that up. Okay, so it's pulling in my annotated information, and you can see that below grade we have a dashed line, above grade solid line. So it makes it a lot easier. Just to give you an idea what it looks like if you didn't have, is this the one? No, that one. I had one here there we go. So this gives you an idea before drawing in the grade line. So if you generate it and you haven't already drawn the grade line in, all you really need to do is at that point just go to draw. You can go to draw shape line, or you can pick it off your toolbar here, and use your F11 to snap to the end point of that line, okay, and just drag it out. And at that point, you can edit that, make that whatever thickness you need to at that point, okay, and drag that across the entire width. Okay, so I usually make mine about 1 inch to 2 inches and solid. All right. All right, I want to make sure that we get through everything here, so we're going to move along. A really quick one to take a look at is our new ability with areas to edit the actual area edges, as opposed to having to adjust the area edges to get them out to a particular point in the wall. Some people want to go to outside of bearing, some people want to go to outside of finish, that kind of thing. Sometimes within one area, you need to pick different edges to go to different spots. So just to illustrate that, let's just take a look at this one and flip this into area mode. So you can see that there's an area drawn here. I think it's just the gross floor area. Yep. And I'm going to find a place that I have a brick wall. So if I was to edit this edge, we've added the abilities now. So you can say the wall reference for that edge is the exterior edge, the outside of bearing, the center line, the inside bearing edge, or the interior edge. Okay, it'll automatically move between all those points for you. Okay, makes it a lot easier. In the past, you would have had to do an adjust and pick on that edge and adjust it to where you want it to go. Okay, now we can just do an edit, and you can quickly just pick on those and move them to where you want. Okay. All right. Another big item we have, for those of you who are utilizing building options already, this will be a big bonus for you. We've added the ability with building options to draw on multiple building options from the get-go. Okay. In the past, you would pick a building option and you would draw on that building option, and then if there were any other walls, beams, decks in this case, that should have been drawn on a different building option, but you want them duplicated on that other building option, you would have to go in and edit. You would edit and go into your common tab and then assign them to the different building options from there. Okay. What we've done now is, if you know that, say, a set of walls is going to be duplicated over 2 different building options, you can draw on those 2 different building options, or 3, or whatever multiple you need to at the same time, so you don't have to come back and do the redundant editing of them afterwards. All right. So to illustrate this, I'm going to erase this deck out the back here, and I'm going to erase the stair that goes along with it. There we go. I didn't get rid of the entire rail over here. There we go. All right. So let's say I want to draw the deck on 2 different building options. This is going to be an upgrade for the sale of the house. It comes with a little step out the back, but no deck. So I'm going to draw it twice. Now there's multiple ways of drawing what I'm going to do here. Using building options, I could draw the deck once and then put in, radio buttons for different handrails, that kind of thing. In this case, we're just going to draw the deck in two different ways, and you can turn it on or off depending on which one you go with. So I've created two different building options, which are available from the top status bar. It should pull up your active building options on the bottom here. And if I want to draw on both of them, I've named mine deck with cable railing, deck with glass railing, just to differentiate them. Okay. Using the control button or the shift button to make multiple selections, I can click the second one, remembering that the blue highlight that you see across your building options indicates which one is currently active and will be drawn upon. All right. So with those two highlighted, if I now go into draw deck, and I'm just going to start out about here. Okay, so we got our deck drawn in. Let's go around to the back. And you can see it. It's right over there. Okay, I'm going to edit that deck. I'll set it to about 9.5 inches to the top. And that should drop it to where I need it. It's good. All right. I haven't put any of the railings on at this point. So I've got the deck, which is going to be consistent between the two. Okay. I'm also going to draw a stair across here. So I'm going to go to draw a deck stair. I'll just that's not what I'm going to do. Oh, there we go. Sketch straight. Roughly there. There we go. All right. So we got our, I'm not going to worry about the structure underneath, that kind of thing. That's probably a good example of what could go on two building options. Then you could have a composite deck surface on top of all of that kind of thing. So that's a good way to separate those out, because regardless, you're going to have the structure under it. Okay. But now if I want to just put in a cable railing, this is when I can just come back to my building options and click on the one that I want. Okay, so only the cable railing is selected now. And if I come over here and I go to auto railing and pick you can pick whichever one you'd want to at this point. I'll just put in straight for now. I think cable shows up here. No, I can edit it later. So I can put in a colonial for now. And then I can come over here and I can click on my glass railing and turn off the cable railing one, which isn't cable. So it's not visible now. And then I can come over here and I can go to my auto railing again. And this time I will go with glass square. Click OK. And that will drop it in for me. All right. And if I want to go back and edit the other one, I can turn the visibility off on this one. At any point, I can turn both on, or I can turn whichever one I want on. Just going to highlight that, turn that on, edit my railings. Now you can just pick a different. We've added the swine fence. Let's give that a look. You can see what that looks like. And of course, go in and change your posts as appropriate to make those look correct as well. All right. Okay. So that's multiple building options. Depends on what kind of drawing you do, but building options are something that just about everybody can utilize in some way. Typically used for houses that you've drawn, you use multiple times, but you have different options for them. Use your building options to set up that breakfast nook, that peninsula in the kitchen, that kind of thing, different windows on the front facade, different roof pitches, that kind of thing can all be utilized through building options, and having the multiple option is very useful in achieving that. Okay. One of the last big items that I wanted to illustrate to you, and then I'll go into some other smaller items that we've added in 2026. I'm going to go back into the front entry, and there we go. So you can kind of see it there. The difference, the inside of our jamb to the inside edge of our casing. I'm trying to get it as large as possible so you can see it on screen. In plan view, you're going to notice that when we're showing the trim on the openings, the dashed red lines, they don't print, they're just there to illustrate where the trim would be. You can see that we actually have allowed for a reveal in at this point. All right, so that reveal, it defaults to 1/4 of an inch, okay? And you can achieve that or modify that at your system and project level options by going into your project or system options here and go into your opening trim options, which is found under material dimensions, okay? And there's where you're going to find your reveal option. So we've got it set to 1/4 of an inch. You can push that up if you like to. And that will affect anything that's drawn and hasn't been modified outside of that. Okay. Likewise, you can edit your opening, and you'll find it under your interior trim options. And that's where you'll find the reveal here. So this one's been overridden, so it wouldn't pick up from the project level. Let's make it something more noticeable. We'll do 3/4 of an inch. And you can see how that jumped out quite a ways. In plan, you'll also see that it's barely covering the jamb now, okay? There were a number of changes to openings that were paired with this. We have extension jambs for interior walls that will facilitate different wall thicknesses, because not every wall is going to be a 3.5 inch partition with a 4.5 inch jamb. So you're going to see some differences in how we draw our openings in an effort to get the reveals to show as well as they do. All right, so that is the interior opening reveals. All right. When it comes to cabinets, we've added a number of items, but there's one particular one that I want to, well, two. They're very similar. They're family members, basically. Just gonna pick us up back here. There we go. All right. We've added an option to add wall cabinets above base cabinets. With that, we've also added an add stack on top option, which probably use less, but it's still very useful. Okay. We've also added an option to add to the left or right of a cabinet. So I just want to show you a couple of these all in this space here. All right. So by editing this cabinet down here, now this can be done through plan. This can be done through an interior elevation. This can be done in 3D. I'm working obviously in 3D to do this. But in here, you'll see that we have the options on the edit for add wall cabinet, stack above, insert to the left, and insert to the right. Okay. You also have the stack option and the wall cabinet option on a right click. But in this case, I'm going to do an insert to the right. I've clicked on this last cabinet in the run. It's going to give me an option of whether it's rectangular or a fill cabinet. Okay, so it's a good way to throw in a fill cabinet where you need one. Okay, we're just going to go with rectangular, and we're going to go with 24 inches, which is fine. Okay, and with that, we will see it has drawn in a cabinet to the right. Okay, so it's a really quick and easy way to fill in your cabinet run. All right. Likewise, if I'm in here and I do a right click on this cabinet, I have an add wall cabinet on there. There's also add fill cabinet shows up on the right click as well. Okay, so that's going to add in a wall cabinet. The nice part here is that the wall cabinet perfectly aligns with the base cabinet. In the past, if you did an auto cabinet feature or something like that, we were just basing those off default sizes. There was no guarantee that they were going to align with the cabinets on the lower run. This will automatically align the upper cabinet with the lower cabinet. All right. At that point, you can come in and you can edit that cabinet as necessary. Okay, and you can change its height and its vertical offsets and all that sort of stuff, that sort of thing. Okay. That's not what I wanted to do. I'll keep it at 84 inches. That's fine. And I'm going to then add a stack on cabinet. So this is a good way to either stack a small row on top of your wall cabinets, as I've done here. You might have a hinge to the top, that kind of thing. Or you could make up your tall cabinets this way with your base and a tall cabinet configuration like a pantry. Okay, so this allows you to do both. So here again, right click on the cabinet where you want to place a wall cabinet above. So add wall cabinet. And then on that cabinet, you can stack on cabinet. We're just going to the ceiling with this one. All right. And it just gives you an idea of how you can do both of those things with that simple tool. Remembering that if you edit the cabinet, you also have the ability to add to the left or add to the right, as well as add your fill cabinets in. Okay. All right. This one, I want to go through it, but it's not one that I can actually illustrate without disconnecting from our call today. In the event that SoftPlan has lost a connection to the server, meaning that you've lost your internet, for instance, we now do a better job of reverting to your local projects for the remainder of the session. So in the past, that could create a problem if you were tied to the server and lost your connection. So you'll find now that that should eliminate those instances. All right. Another item that we've added is nested SoftPlan details. So we will probably expand on this further as time goes on. But if you were to want to draw a typical detail, top of wall or roof eave detail, that kind of thing, it was always drawn in as a symbol. We now have the ability to nest those items in for you. Just make sure I'm back on the drawing here. There we go. So if I want to insert a drawing or a region, I just want you to know where to look for these things. You're going to find them in our 2026 instructional drawing folder. Okay. So instruction 2026 instructional projects. And in here, you're going to find a folder called detail drawings. And at that point, you could put in a symbol as such and pick OK. Okay. And that's going to allow you to drop that in as an actual nested drawing. The power of a nested drawing, for those of you who didn't foray into nested drawings, is that they're drawn in one spot, but they can be utilized in multiple locations. So if let's say you're doing an apartment building, you can draw the one apartment and then nest it across, add the nested drawing across the hall and down the hall, so that when you change one, they're all changed. Okay, so that's the power of it. So the nice thing here is that this is now a drawing, so that you can come in and you can modify this on the source drawing, and it'll modify here. Okay, if you did want to explode it, then you can explode it, but this allows you to insert it here. Likewise, you can insert this into a plan set as well as a drawing. Okay, so that's the first piece we've done, is we've done the SoftPlan details, mostly because that way you'll get better control of your pen weights and such when you're working with those. Okay. All right, kind of getting short on time. I want to take a quick look out back for you here. All right. I don't want to draw a stair anymore. So over to edit. All right. Now, just for the interest of time, I've drawn a few beams in this pergola area, or pergola, if you prefer. I'm just going to zoom us out to that area. So I've added this little pergola out the back. I've drawn some beams horizontally across here, just for this illustration purpose. Obviously, they would stop at the truss or rafters that you have in the middle, but I'm just going to run them through for today's case. Now, what the purpose of this is when I'm editing the beams, I'll just edit one of these. We've added the option here to fit top of beam 2 and different styles. Okay, so there's 6 different styles, 3 for roof and 3 for ceiling. They're the same on both, but it's a matter of what we go looking for. So when we're saying fit to roof, it's going to look for the underside of the roof and fit them to that. There was a bit of confusion when we were out in beta and alpha as to what the use of this was, and we had people doing this where their ceiling was flat. That's not the purpose of this. This is for when you have a sloped ceiling or a sloped roof that you want to fit to. Okay, so what we're going to do with this is we can slope beams from the eaves up to the ridge. We can already do that. Okay, so that's fitting the beam to that point. Oops. I didn't mean to turn that off. That's okay. It's actually easier for us to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit the beam that I've selected. I'm just going to show you the different cases here. So plumb means that it's going to push it up, but it's still going to be vertical in its orientation. Okay. If I change that over to raked, it's going to tip it so that it matches the pitch. So the top of the beam, along its lengthwise axis, it's going to spin so that the top of the beam is flat with the underside of the roof. Okay. This is where people got confused. What flush does is it turns the beam flat to that surface. Okay, so it's going to tip it over, if you like, so that the side of the beam is flat to the underside of the roof. Okay. So I'm just going to change that back. Okay, so that's going to go to the underside of the rafter. And I just want to get it out of there for a second, and I'm going to turn on the ceiling. I've got a ceiling in here as well, so the same thing. I've drawn just a tongue and groove ceiling in here, at which point I can then edit that beam again and change it so that it's going ceiling plumb. So I didn't see a big movement there, but it moved up to it. Ceiling rake, so it tips it, and then ceiling flush, so it's going to flatten it out. Okay, and then once I've done that, I can repeat that change to the other beams and have them run through. All right, so something of use if you have, especially something like faux beams inside of a sloped ceiling area inside of your house, and you want to throw the beams up there, but you want them tipped on their edge. That's what that will do for you. Okay. All right. One of the other things we've added is we've added a drip edge option. I'm not too sure how visible it will be in here for us. Turn the gutter off and let that regenerate. Okay, and then if I turn on the drip edge, I can make it a different color too, so it shows up. You can see it there now. Okay, so that's, I'm just going to zoom this up. Nice and close. There you go. There's your drip edge. All right, so we've added that drip edge in. That might help a little bit better when we have things like purlins across our roof and that kind of thing. All right, we've done really well to go through a lot of content here. There's one more thing I just wanted to quickly show you. And it has to do with roofs. So I'm going to flip this over to roof mode. And go to the second floor plan, actually. That's where we want to be. That's where our roofs are drawn on this one, because it's a multiple floor roof. So I'll flip us back into roof mode on the second floor. I'm going to zoom us into this corner down in here. So I have the end of our garage roof tying into this wall. I also have the back end of our front shed roof tying into the front wall. See if I can pull this out there. So you can kind of see where that one's running through. All right. And it's running into that brick wall. If I was to do an elevation, I wouldn't necessarily get the line where that roof disappears into the brick, because it isn't it's literally just running through into the brick. So what we've added is the ability to adjust that edge. So in here, if I go to the roof and I edit the edge, right now it's going to say that it's a vertical intersect. Okay. Sorry, it's an intersect. We've added an intersect outside option, which will then, if you just watch this edge here, when I change that to intersect outside, that's going to pull it out in front of the brick in this case. So I put brick on that front wall so that we can see a more noticeable difference. On this edge over here, same thing. If I was to edit that edge and change that one to an intersect outside, it's going to pull it out to the face of the siding. So it's a minus 1.5 inch offset for the edge of the roof, but it pulls it forward, and you can even see that in this corner up here where it's pulled it in front of the brick. All right, so that's just a new tool that there again, kind of like the areas you no longer have to adjust. You can edit the edge and set the setting the way you want it to be. All right. So hope you find that useful. That will definitely help with those instances where the top edge of your shed roof doesn't have a line across it. This will help to delineate that edge, because it will actually have the top edge of that roof plane drawn in so that you can pick that up on your line drawings afterwards. All right. So with that, I've taken you to the full hour. So I'm sorry if I'm taking you over time here. Covered a lot of the new features. I hope that you gain some insight as to some of the new things that you can try in 2026 through today's session. And I look forward to hearing from you in tech support if you have any questions about some of the new features and how they work. I do encourage you to go out there and give it a shot. It's working very well, and I think you'll benefit from a lot of the new tools that we've implemented there. Okay, things like the PBR textures for flooring, that kind of thing. They're really going to enhance your 3Ds. So if I was to, as we finish up here, I'm just going to flip this back into textured mode and regenerate it. I do have path tracing on. This flooring that you see in here is actually one of the PBR textures that we I think shipped with the program, but you can go in 3D and you can download your own from Lightbeams directly from the toolbar. Okay, and I think you'll find that there's some pretty cool tools with those and with the displacement mapping and so on that you can achieve with that. All right, so I do encourage you to sign up for the session in 2 weeks with Steve to go through an additional list of 2026 features that we've added. There's been a lot of effort put into 2026, and I hope that you enjoy it. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future. Thank you.